So that's like a decent amount of emails, and so over the years I just collected all those, and I started from there. And then I was doing Facebook ads. Still do a little bit of SoundClick. I know nobody talks about that anymore, but it still works, and especially for getting like emails and free beats and stuff. Like it's a pretty good place to do that.
Peace, what's going down? It's DJ Payne, one for BeatStars.com, here with another top-selling producer, DG, a.k.a. Dylan Graham, a.k.a. Make Real Listen Real. What's going down, sir?
What's up, man? Like 3 names.
Yeah, how does that work? Do you have 3 identities as well?
No, DG Beats is like gone. That's done. I still gotta change my domain on my site, but other than that's pretty much done. So just my name and then my company, Make Real Listen Real.
And then also a sample platform too.
Yeah, that's
but we'll talk about that in a second. So you have a lot of identities, I imagine. That gets confusing for your loved ones. When did you start producing beats?
Shit, I was just thinking about this last night. I don't actually know the specific year. I don't know. It was either 9 to 11 years ago, somewhere in there. I didn't start taking it seriously until maybe 8-9 years ago.
That's still a good amount of time to produce in a serious capacity. When did you start actually selling beat licenses online?
I actually started pretty much as soon as I took it seriously. I started uploading to YouTube probably 9-ish years ago, and people just started buying leases. I think I sold my first lease within a week of uploading my first beat to YouTube. So kind of just went from there.
So on that note, I know you've said in other videos that you haven't had many placements, capital P, but you're clearly making a solid living off of making and licensing beats online. When did production become your sole source of income, and what led up to that?
I think 4 years. 4 years ago, I was living in St. Petersburg, Florida. My last job was the worst fucking job you could ever have. Well, I won't say that, it can always get worse, but it was knocking door to door. I was doing door to door sales in the heat in Florida, getting the fucking door slammed in my face. It was the worst job I've ever had. So yeah, that was 4 years ago, and then I moved back into my mom's basement, drove all the way back to Toronto because I went completely broke. And I lived there for about 4 or 5 months, where I literally just made beats and studied email marketing and how to rank on YouTube, and I studied all that shit for that 4 months, and then I went from making $1,000 a month to making enough to live off of, and then from there I moved to Atlanta, and since I've been self-employed, so 4 years.
Okay, you've been self-employed for 4 years. Have you been using BeatStars that whole time?
Almost 2 years now that I've been on BeatStars.
How did your beat selling workflow change once you signed up with BeatStars?
The workflow is pretty much the same thing. The only thing I'll say that is the major difference is it feels more like a community. I work with a lot of people, especially the collab feature where it's automatic payments. We do the same shit the collab we've done. And then the I guess I wouldn't say the workflow, but the biggest difference that I've noticed is the marketplace. I make a lot of sales, usually 1,000 plus to I think I've made up to 2,000 a month just off the marketplace, which is basically, as far as I'm concerned, free money because I'm not spending any money to promote on there. It's dope. So that's probably the biggest difference is the marketplace.
So now, in terms of uploading beats, how many beats do you upload weekly compared to when you first started?
Before, I didn't actually have a schedule before, so I'd randomly, sporadically just upload 20 beats once every 2 months or something. But now I try and do every Tuesday. I drop anywhere from 2 to 4 beats, and I've been doing that for a year or so.
And have you noticed a change in sales and engagement and numbers after you implemented that consistency?
I would say it's hard to tell, but I've been promoting a lot less lately. I've been spending a lot less money on promotion, just whether it's on Instagram, Facebook, freaking SoundClick, anywhere. I don't really spend that much, and my sales stay the same. I think it's Just a lot of return customers because they know when to expect new work.
So as far as marketing goes, most producers say YouTube is their number one source of traffic and sales, and you use YouTube pretty sporadically. I checked your channel,
Yeah.
and in spite of that, and you still have millions of views on your channel. Is YouTube your primary source of traffic? It doesn't seem like it is, right?
I don't know. It used to be. I haven't. I kind of stopped uploading them on there for a while. I would say I've been doing a lot of Instagram like story ads lately, which have been working like really well. Which reminds me, I want to talk to you about that a little bit later. And I've been doing just regular like Instagram ads through, business.facebook, all that. And then my main thing is really email marketing, man, getting people's emails and then just shooting them free beats and just getting them to come check out the site. It's really email marketing is like my number one thing.
That was going to be my next question. So when we first met about a year ago in Atlanta at A3C 2017, you gave me some advice. You weren't giving it to me directly. We were talking on a panel, but what really stuck with me was your advice for email lists, and you said something to the effect of when you send an email to your subscribers, you take a conversational, informal tone. Whereas I was trying to make my emails look flashy and put all these images and stuff. And when I switched my technique up to something more conversational, suddenly my click rates and my open rates, doubled. So when did you discover that technique, and why do you think it works so well?
Man, first of all, shout out to Epic the Don. When I first moved to Atlanta, I linked up with him a bunch of times, and he basically just gave me like the full rundown on email marketing and everything he's doing. He was he was like a big inspiration to me at the time. Still is, like he's super dope. But yeah, he just gave me the full rundown on it. I started that right around the time, I would say a couple of months before I went full time. So I really like just dove into it head first and did a shit ton of research after he told me about it. And yeah.
So obviously to do email marketing, you need a base of email subscribers. What are some techniques that you've used over the last 4 years to build that subscription list up?
So it started out as all of the people that have ever bought beats off me from my YouTube. And I didn't like go full time until 4 years ago, but like I said, I started selling beats as soon as I uploaded on YouTube like 9 years ago. And I wasn't doing a lot of sales, but for a couple years, even in high school, I was doing like, close to $1,000 a month in like senior year and stuff. So that's like a decent amount of emails. And so over the years, I just collected all those and I started from there. And then I was doing Facebook ads. I still do a little bit of SoundClick. I know nobody talks about that anymore, but it's nowhere near what it used to be, like back in the golden days when you could make like 200 grand on SoundClick, but it still works, and especially for getting like emails and free beats and stuff. Like it's a pretty good place to do that.
So you've also, and we talked about this recently, you've optimized your website to showcase deals, discounts, and so forth. Has that process led to more sales, and how did you actually, what steps did you take to optimize your website? How'd you make that happen?
First of all, that's my homie, actually my roommate here, Jay. He does all the stuff on my site. So he suggested it, and it's basically like it just works as like a call to action is the way that I look at it. As soon as someone comes to the site, after 6 seconds of them being on the site, it's just a pop-up that comes up, and it gives them a discount for like anywhere from like 25 to 30% off. This Black Friday, I was doing 50% off. Every once in a while, I'll just do random like flash sales of like a day at 50% off. It's really just like a call to action. It's just like something that pops up right in their face, like, hey, if you buy right now, you get this discount. So it's kind of it's almost like a sense of urgency too. Like if you know anything about like sales techniques and stuff like that, like ClickFunnels uses that. I don't know if you know anything about ClickFunnels, but it's like really like if you buy now, you'll get this discount. If not, it's going to be gone. So it's like it just makes people want to like buy right away.
So the landscape now obviously has changed quite a bit for the online production marketplace. A lot of people are frustrated. A lot of new producers are frustrated, but there are still a lot of newer producers emerging as career beat sellers. Even today, what are some major mistakes you see newer producers making when they start entering the online beat licensing sphere?
just doing the same shit as everyone else, like just trying to copy other people's styles, horrible graphics, um, bad keyword. Like there's so much shit. I would say the main thing is just not having your own sound and like not making the type of music that you want to make. Just trying to make shit that sells. Because I was just talking about this with my buddies the other day. It's like I feel like there's so many new producers just in the last year and a half. I feel like the market has just become super saturated. It's crazy, and every kid wants to make beats now. Like I remember just a few years ago, like you would tell someone you were like a beat maker, and they'd be like, "Oh, okay, so what exactly do you do?" But now it's like there's millions of people doing it, so everyone knows what it is. And I guess the main thing is just kids coming into it just looking to make money and not really like worrying about the music first. I would say just really caring about the quality over just putting out a shit ton of content, trying to make as much money as you can. That's the main mistake, I think.
And I think the perception is that you have to copy what's out there in order to make any money, and so that's what people focus on. But in your experience, in my experience, those people aren't making a cent. So that's what's ironic about it. And let me ask you this. So I got a comment yesterday from a producer who he said he was mad that he had to make tight beats just to be relevant and make sales. My guess was that he wasn't making sales no matter what, to the point that someone whose sole income is, production. But I think a lot of producers miss the point of the whole, tight beat label. What's your creative process with regard to making beats and then labeling them once they're done?
Mine is like really just making whatever vibe I come up with. Like it depends on how I start the beat too. If it's a sample, I'm just gonna flip it in a crazy way and put as many effects on until it like sounds cool, and then I go from there. It really just it depends. But then putting labels on it, it's not like I don't really sit down and be like, I'm gonna make a Drake type beat. It's more like I'm just gonna try and make something that sounds dope, and then later on, if I'm going to like put it on YouTube, for example, or if I'm gonna tag it on BeatStars, I'm gonna listen to it and think like, who could I hear on this, so that it's easier for people to find in a search engine. Like, that's all type beats are to me,
The other perception is that certain types of tracks just don't sell. Musical tracks that sound classic. And I know you're shaking your head because your style is heavily musical. A mutual friend of ours is Dream Life. He makes pretty much all golden era, not all, but the majority of his sales come from golden era sounding beats. The kind of stuff that a lot of people would say that would never sell in today's market. Standing out, has that always worked for you? I mean, when with the current backdrop of, like you said, a lot of producers doing the same thing over and over again, duplicating the current sound, is that a major advantage for you as having a niche? How would you describe your niche, actually, first of all?
R&B, trap, smooth stuff is the shit that sells most for me. And it's funny that you brought that up as far as like musicality, because the stuff that I think like this has so much shit going on that no one could even rap on it, those are always my top selling beats. I don't know why. I think it's just like people just want to buy it. Some people, I've got emails from people that say they just want to buy it to use it as like an intro or interlude, or just want to have like a dope musical track on their album, So, and that's a beautiful thing about selling beats online. I feel like the placement industry, as far as like the traditional music industry, the beats have to be, they don't have to be like, I wouldn't say they have to be like generic or like what's going on right now, but you do have to keep it pretty close to what's going on. You can kind of go out of the realm, but like as far as selling beats, there's so many different type of rappers out there that like different kind of beats that it's, you can basically make any type of fucking beat that you want, and as long as it's dope, there's gonna be a market for people out there that are gonna buy it, as long as you know how to market it right and get it in front of the right people.
On the subject of major placements, have you gotten work with major label artists as a result of uploading beats online?
I've gotten a couple things from the result of sample kits. Those are the only placements that I've gotten. So I've gotten like some, decently sized artists. Like I got this one with, well, Wale's a pretty fucking big artist, so I got that off of sample kits. Someone basically just took some of my loops, put them together, and then sent it to Wale. So I got that, and then I've got some other stuff in the works. It's all from sample kits, though. Really, to be honest with you, as far as leasing beats online, I haven't got any major placements from that yet.
The sample kit game is interesting. You created an entirely new brand and website for your sample kits, and obviously creating an entirely new brand identity is a lot of hard work. So what was behind that decision to kind of split yourself into two identities, the producer and the sample kit creator?
Well, my homie, my business partner actually on it, King Benjamin, he hit me up a couple years ago, and he just told me to send some stuff, and we started working. And he suggested the idea that we start a sample kit site, and since it was, going to be both of ours, I didn't want to just have it under my name and on my website. So it was just kind of a collective thing, and yeah.
How many kits have you dropped so far?
I think we have maybe like 25 kits on the site, something like that.
Was there kind of a turning point in terms of starting to make money off of those kits once you uploaded a certain number, or was it always a success right out the gate?
It was honestly a success right out of the gate. We have like, especially with Benjamin, because he has a pretty friggin' big following on SoundCloud. He's a rapper as well, and his beats are just like really different. I mean, we both have a very, very similar like ear and sound, but I've always kind of had people asking me for years to start making kits, and like, when are you going to put out a kit? So as soon as I did, it just kind of, the sales just kind of started coming in. We don't even really do promotion. I'll just put something on my story or make a post on it, and we'll just kind of get sales from there.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that too, because when people hear your beats, usually the first thing they think of is, usually the first thing they want to know is how you make your drums sound the way they sound. And I'm sure you get that question all the time. So, releasing drum kits and loop libraries was a pretty obvious decision. But when we were talking, I'll cut this out of the interview if you don't want to talk about this. You said something to the effect of, a lot of people ask you questions about your drum mixing process, and they want to know if you're parallel compressing or side chaining and this and that. And you said you don't add effects. Your drums are raw. All you do is EQ everything else so that your drums fit into your mixes perfectly, right?
Right, pretty much. I do some side chaining on the bass if I want to like make the kick hit super hard. But yeah, it's mostly just like EQing out pockets in the frequencies of like the instrumentation when the drums drop. That way it just leaves all that room for the drums to be like the main focus, which is the main thing. And that, and then just gain staging, like mixing levels. That's like so slept on. Like you can just have a nice quality kick, snare, hi-hat, and then just have perfect levels, and it's going to sound good regardless.
So last question, how do people find your kits? How do they find your beats? how do they follow you on social media?
Yeah, so my site right now it's still DG Beats. I haven't bought the new domain. I'm trying to find one that fits, but it's dgbeats.net for kids. My Instagram's Make Real Listen Real, and then for kids it's sampleplug.com. So it's kind of all over the place right now, but I'm working on that.
Hey, well, it's working, man. Much continued success. Appreciate you sitting down and sharing your trade secrets.
Hell yeah, man! Thanks.